Great. Well, good Friday morning. We getting fairly close. I know we're fortunately done with a lot of the budget meetings, but we still need to land the plane. So we're had a couple meetings this week with the budget team on finalization of things. So I'm targeting for next week. Now that we have the police. Hey, Michelle. Now that we have the police negotiations finalized and approved by council, we'll fold that into the budget. I'll do an updated cover memo with Patrick to some of the things we talked about, just to reflect some of the larger things that are here, and now kind of by departments, what we saw last year, what the growth is for this year, to kind of give an overall picture of what's driving growth. And then I think we have not next week, but the week thereafter. So hoping next week I'll basically send you all the updated digital version of the budget book with an updated cover memo. I'll also be updating all based on the change log and based on conversations, like what the council recommendations for each section have been, just to kind of pull out kind of a finalization there. And then the following week, we have our hopefully final budget workshop before the May vote, and kind of the bigger outstanding pieces. We're meeting with Enterprise next week to kind of finalize. Here's the last kind of fleet recommendation for both the fire code officers, car recommendation, the public works recommendation, and then the Jim, like the facilities person. We kind of talking about that. Would that person need a truck? Could they use Jim's old truck? Can we just have a smaller kind of car for that? So finalize not the biggest portion of the budget, but finalize that with the data from Enterprise on the state of the fleet and kind of vehicle options. So and then IRCI as well. IRCI was like the last piece, just to talk a little bit more about that budget and open it up to anything else anybody has before we go into the May meeting for finalization. So, yeah. So
there'd be an accounting of IRCI. I know there was a discussion that was buried somewhere. So you've got that pulled out. Yeah,
we'll get that pulled out, and one of our might be bringing in one of our consultants. She just did kind of an update memo on where IRCI's been over the last 10 years. This is the 10-year anniversary, kind of where we're at now and some ideas on moving forward. I know I want to talk to EBDC more about that as well. We've had some discussions, but it's also kind of a council policy on, hey, here's where the state of IRCI is. It's 10 years in, probably need either some new investment in the building. It's got some, we're kind of in a maintenance area for now. And this is TIF, IRCI's funded through the TIF, so this isn't the end of what we could be investing in IRCI or how we decide what to do there, but we'll have a full accounting on how much the revenues are from last year for rents, what we're thinking of for revenues for rents this year, kind of general state of the building, and et cetera. So, yeah, so that's it for me. I know I've got some audit updates from Nate and PUC stuff and Ashley, so I'll send it on to them before we open it up.
Yeah, just really quick, I actually sat down at my desk this morning and I was like, I got papers all over the place. The auditors have been working, honestly, I've been working nonstop with them, which is, obviously great, but obviously we're still, it's May 2nd, it's not where we want to be at, but we're trying to finalize this audit and we're getting closer. That's what they told me yesterday. Working with, like I said, a couple ladies that are working around the clock. I've been getting emails usually at 6 or 6:30 in the morning every day. So I know they're working, and I was on the call last night until at least 6. So they're working nonstop, and we're trying to get this thing finalized and try to land this plane. So things are going well in that aspect, I think. Like I said, we had some hiccups when it came to the Cassell from Munis migration, and we finally figured that out last week, what that issue was. So that was honestly a big hurdle that we had to get over, and it's definitely going to help us out with our beginning balances and everything that we need, so we can have obviously a correct balance, good reconciliations, which is obviously the key and something the city definitely needs. And like I said, my goal was to have it done before this budget got passed, and I don't know, still could, obviously. Like I said, I'm working tirelessly between myself and Ashley and the team. We're just constantly, getting everything they need, everything they're asking for, and that's what we're working on. Obviously, besides that, working on, I think I have it on your notes, but, the PUC report, it's due April 1st, but we asked for an extension until May 1st. We did get that submitted yesterday. So that is in good standing with the main PUC, which is the Public Utilities Commission. And then like I said, everything else has been budget or audit, and honestly, audit's my number one priority right now. And obviously getting that audit done, and then the budget is right up there with it. But that's all I have, unless you have any questions, and I can pass it on to Ashley with just a brief ARPA update.
Yeah, so ARPA was due to be fully allocated as of December of last year. We went through, allocated all those funds out. As of April this year, we had to have them obligated with the state. So I went in, I obligated all those funds out. We allocated what's already been spent, and we're waiting for another quarter to pass to go back in there and put what we've spent as well, because we have until this December to spend all of the funds on all of the projects we've allocated it out to. So yeah, that was done and uploaded to the state, so we're good there. That's that.
Great, and thanks for the team on, especially that piece on the paperwork. Finalization is really important. I don't think the ARPA police are necessarily coming for us. It's to do a nationwide audit of that, but if they do, we've got the paperwork, teams have put it together, and we should be good to go.
Great. Thanks for all your hard work, guys. I know it's a busy time of year for you.
It's busy, but honestly, I tell Ashley all the time, I was like, I can't do it without you. It's teamwork. We usually get a list of at least 6 or 7 things a day. So we kind of tackle, like, all right, Ashley, you take this stuff, I'll take this stuff. But like I said, we've tried to tackle it, and they've said we've been quick at responding, which is great. Like I said, I'm quick because I want this to get done and accurate and have accurate numbers moving forward. So definitely a team effort.
Great.
Anything
And
from
that's all we had.
council until we open it up to?
I have one thing. I sent an email a couple of weeks ago asking for a list of disbursements of the TIF funds in the last 2 years. I'd rather have 5, and I realize that request is huge. And I don't expect that request would get filled within this year. But perhaps, when I say this year, by June 30th, because I know that's probably a bigger task than I realize. But I would like to know a list of disbursements of TIF spending. I'd like to know.
Steve, I'll have that to you by next week. I'll be honest with you, I have it on my list of things to do, and it's my apologies. I was working on getting the audit stuff, but I'll definitely have that to you by next week.
It's not that critical. I just wanted to say that I hadn't heard anything from the email that I requested. I didn't even know if it came in, but I would just say that I think the audit information is far more important than the TIF disbursements. And, if I could have it in the month of July, I'd be happy, just at some point. I'd like to get a copy of the 5 years of disbursements for TIF spending.
And we did have a slight issue with that email, just so you know. I don't know if you want to explain it, Sarah. But
Sure, it came into,
can you stand up to the mic and say your name?
I'm here, Nate, Sarah Devlin. Sorry, Steve, your email came into the spam, so it was in quarantine for a bit, but I got it out of quarantine, I released it. But the email that I received from you, the request was only for 2024 and 2025, but you want 5 years?
Well, I was looking for that before a particular meeting.
Okay.
And so I was thinking that a small ask would be the only thing that I could ask for, but it didn't happen during that time. And I realize it's a busy time, but I would like to see whatever is feasibly possible. Maybe it's only 1 year, 2 years.
Okay.
5 would be optimum, but I'll take anything that you could provide. And it's not thrashing an emergency. It's just, I had never got a response from anybody, and I didn't even know if it went through. And I'd just like to see where these TIF dollars have been spent in a particular time frame.
Okay.
It's
on
low-key,
Nate's list.
low priority.
We can get that to you, Steve. I mean, I know offhand, it's almost, the vast bulk is gonna be the Economic Development Department, and any expenses relative to that.
Debt service.
Some debt service.
It's in the audit, because it's its own fund, so it has to be separated, so you can get up to 23 in the audit books.
But you can't get the individual number. I'm looking for
Should.
the individual,
Like
You have
lines
to-
that it was
yeah,
spent on.
it should be in the audit, because that has to be accounted for in the audit.
I didn't
Because
see
it's a
it.
separate audit.
I didn't see it in the
I
audits.
saw a aggregate amount, but I didn't see the full amount. And even if it is in the audit, I would like to see, I don't imagine that there could be more than 6 or 12 disbursements per year. Or
Yeah,
am I
and
wrong?
we have so I sent out, we had a memo on TIF as part of the budget cycle. I kind of gave you and it had Excel spreadsheets on breakdowns on, there's the amount of TIFs that we have, and then some of those disbursements are pretty much, they just go out every year some goes back to the school on a debt service, some goes to other debt service for Oriole, or,
For the park, for Moore School, the senior center piece of it.
right.
That's not from the economic development tip, though. I think that's from the housing tip.
And then there's, the economic development TIF is the one that has a little bit more of a, okay, year-to-year council input, let's do this, let's do that. The other ones are more just, it comes in, it goes here, it goes in, it goes here. So-
That's fine, I'd just like to see it, because that's a big number that's set outside of the budget.
Great, anything else?
Good morning. Jared Wilbur, resident. This morning, I'd like to take a few moments and review the Chapter 7 Traffic Code. What I'd really like to focus on would be Article 9, 9.01 through 902 and 903. Article 9, Beals Ave restrictions. No vehicle exceeding 6,000 pounds gross weight or dual wheels shall be operated at any time over Beals Ave or any part of. Number 2, exceptions to the ordinance. The operation of vehicles when necessary to conduct business at the destination point of Beals Ave, provided the vehicle should enter the closest intersection nearest the destination point. And then 9.2.2 is an exception for emergency vehicles and buses. Now, I'm not like that up on trucks, so I didn't know if Mr. O'Halloran could give me a rough idea of what size a 6,000 pound vehicle single wheel would be.
6,000 pounds, I assume that's loaded, you're
That is-
talking about?
Yep,
Wow, there'd be a lot of one-ton dualies that would hit 6,000 empty.
but we can't have dual, it states no dual wheels.
Right.
Yeah.
That would be a dual wheel.
Yeah,
A one-ton dually, if
Mhm.
you will, would be pushing 6,000 pounds empty.
Okay.
Maybe more, might be between 6 and 8.
okay. The reason I'm bringing this to the attention is if there's a development going in at the end of Beals Ave, and we have an ordinance that kind of protects Beals Ave for larger trucks, and it states what intersection should be used for the closest point. I didn't know, and there's that, it also goes further to talk about fines and stuff. I didn't know if it would be proactive for the city to have conversations with the developer about which intersection they should be using to get to their destination spot versus having a bunch of citizens who are already sort of have concerns about this development calling in and filing complaints and, having a lot of back and forth with the police and code and all that sort of stuff.
No, that's a good, I think, we have a public works committee or how it is.
Local roads, yeah.
Local Roads Committee. You know, it's not really a finance issue, but it's, thank you for raising it, and I think, but that would probably be the best venue to bring that to, because that also has, you know, Mike and folks that work more specifically on these issues. But yeah, we don't want to get anyone cross-threaded with the ordinance, and whether it may be, we need to amend the ordinance to make sure they can do the work they need to do to develop it, or just confirm that they're in compliance with it. I think that's a good point, Jared. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a comment about that, too. John Partridge moved a building into what I believe is his home, and that entrance on Beals Avenue was not conducive to that movement. And they built a temporary entrance parallel to the High Street entrance of Beals Avenue for that project specifically. Now, it would have to be done differently, and I'm sure there's all kinds of nuances to that if you was to make a permanent entrance or a construction entrance there. But when they moved that building in there, they built a separate entrance because they could not navigate that hump. And that's how that building went in there. So they may have to, I don't know if that's an option in this case.
Where was that road, Steve? How'd they do the entrance?
They did it by crane mats.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
What are those called? Crane?
Crane mats, yeah. Because they could not handle that.
What's a crane mat?
A crane mat is usually made of, well, in this case, it would have been made of hardwood to take the weight, but crane mats are used to be environmentally friendly for temporary roads, okay? And it's usually an 8-inch thick by 4-foot wide, 12-foot long, maybe 16 long, and you lay it down on the existing turf. And sometimes it's compacted, sometimes there's a little bit of vegetation removal, and it becomes basically a float for construction vehicles in soft areas. And then when they're done, they pick that up. And that's what happened with that building, is it was made with blocking and crane mats. And crane mats are, I guess, the best opportunity to see one would be if you went to Southwest Harbor and drove out onto the pier, okay, Dysart's Marina. That would give you the same look as a crane mat. It's not a crane mat, it's the real pier there. But crane mats are the answer to environmentally friendly roads that can be picked up at the end of the project.
I bet we'll need to use them for the new courthouse road. Anytime you're in wetlands or any near wetlands, actually, I think DEP regulations require materials like that, those crane mats. So if you have to get in temporarily into a wetland to do any kind of work, they throw the mat down because it minimizes the impact.
So on the construction road access prior to finalizing stormwater, et cetera,
Yeah.
might have to be that. in originals.
And, you know, crane mat is the older term. I'm sure there are more modern terms to that. Swamp mats, wood mats, but crane mats are very well known.
Yeah, and I think there was just an
And they're
article
built in
on.
Maine.
Oh, really?
Many places build them in Maine.
Cool. We'll look into, I know they're still in as a news article mentioned recently, they're still in the kind of financing stage with that project. It's really kind of innovative state and federal funding, and actually working directly with potential homeowners on how they can afford the down payment to own those properties. So we're not in a start date yet. It's probably not I don't think next year they're not breaking ground. I don't have any word on that yet, but once that triggers in and we have some idea of where that's going, Jared, I'll make sure we get local roads together, and it's a great issue to be brought up to how they'll be hauled.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys.
Thanks.
Thanks, Jared.
Anything else? Great.
Mr. Lenahan?
I'm just glad to be back. I'm doing a lot of traveling. I'm glad to be here like that. So tried to keep up, but I was reading the papers, see what's going on, but nice to be back in Ellsworth.
Could bring back some warmer weather, it would've been nice.
Well, I did, so when we were gaining till today.
The buds on the trees.
I know, it's great.
Doesn't that make you happy?
Spring has sprung.
Part of the plan too is to add a matching one on the other side, now that you've probably seen the fire windows are finally installed.
Those look really good, by the way. I noticed those the other day.
Yeah.
They look really great.
Big props to Jim, who's doing a zillion things, but also arranged for those vendors to come in, and also to Caleb, who helped pull out kind of the overgrown trees and everything beforehand, so that we were able to get in. And now we'll do some replanting out there, and Tabitha and I are working on a replanting plan, talking to some local landscape designers on what to put in there. That'll,
Look at Jim. Every project he does is always done perfectly. It's
Yeah.
great.
And to speak to the windows, it fits the building, but they're modern windows.
yeah.
I think that
Yeah.
that's a real interesting mix, a modern window with the older look.
And actually, I walked up to him to see, because from the distance, they look just like all the others, and I walked up to him to say they look great.
Yes, they do.
And he found the screens, so the fire department's happy, and they can have some fresh air without the bugs soon. And yeah, to speak to Jim too, I mean, he also mentioned that they use like Aztec siding, but the kind of the edging around there, so that it's not going to rot. It'll stay the same color it is forever. But I think that's different than he's mentioned when they installed these windows. Like, it's pretty much just rot around that because the windows are plastic and there's wood around it on the edges. So now it's like, you can just push your finger through a lot of these areas. And for those of us who have offices near these windows doors, you can just feel this breeze circling around.
In fairness to the building, I don't think it was ever intended for a 90-year occupancy.
Yeah, although the windows, I think, was a 30-year ago replace. So they kind of replaced without doing the Aztec on the outside, or maybe the Aztec stuff didn't exist then either, but
No, it wasn't allowed.
it wasn't allowed.
Storm preservation.
Commission?
Oh, so let it rot.
I
Interesting.
think it was meant, because the wood had to stay for the preservation of the history of the building. Put those windows in.
Interesting.
Thank you.
All right.